We're gonna go. White supremacy. It's got the best of me. White supremacy. It's got the best of me. That's right. Welcome to Being a White Guy. I'm your host, White Supremacy. Broadcasting to you live central from the white supremacistic snow cone capital of the world. Hope you're doing well. Hope everybody out there is doing good. Audio's good. They can stretch. We're doing things today. We got things going on. Things are happening. Hope you're doing well. The world is constantly changing, and that change requires that you got to bring your own lunchbox, and your lunchbox is gonna need some things inside. Frankly, some of those things are kind of violent, and that's what's gonna take. We're gonna be taking calls today. I placed the link in Patreon, and it is there. If you have a free account, you can check it out. Yeah, flannel shirts are important. If you're a white supremacist, you're gonna need a flannel shirt, and I recommend Costco. Ding! Costco is the number one brand in white supremacism. Now, you got your Carhartt, but Carhartt's a working white supremacist brand, okay? These are for white supremacists have got a lot of stuff to do. If you're like, you're going to be mixing concrete, you're going to want a thick weave. You're going to want to have something that's abrasive resistant. You're going to be on your knees a lot, helping other white men into their house, into their driveway. You're going to be like, let's install a heated floor under the concrete. That'll work. Let's do that. And we'll run a line under here, and we'll run hot water through it using the power of PEX tubing. And you'll know it's legit because I got my freaking Carhartts on. Why do you doubt me? Right? Come on, man. Come on. And I'm waiting for Van Harts because this is the world of edgelording. And the new, you know what is Nazi as fuck is to come out against Hitler now. Did you notice that? It's true. If you really want to be Nazi as fuck, you got to come out against Hitler. You got to be like, hey, I think Hitler's kind of like a meth dope fiend. I think he had some rejection issues when he was a child. He's probably chronically masturbated, like a lot. I think that he died from not Jack Boots, from Jack and It in the bunker. Yes, Mr. Peacock was murdered in the bunker with a flaccid candlestick, ladies and gentlemen. And so now you know this is as edgelord as you can get, because if you're supposed to, like, that's gonna happen, and you gotta let it happen. It's just a giant fountainhead. It's just a bunch of fountainheads just being dickheads. Dick Cheney's a war criminal, but Tucker Carlson's not going to tell you that. Alex Jones isn't going to tell you that. Now you got all these types, these figures, these elementals, as I call them. Tucker Carlson says he's got an attack by a demon, which is hilarious because Tucker Carlson is a fucking demon that's telling you the story about how he was attacked by a demon. And then you got this inception, because then you're like, how many demons deep is it? And it's all the way down, man. It's a different world. Welcome to the Aquarium Civil War, and I hope you're having a good time. I had some lovely conversations 2 days ago, and 1 day ago, and I broadcasted those conversations, and got to see them. Put them on the channel here, and oh, look at that, we got someone in the room. We're gonna let's see here. This is a wild card here. This is who knows what this person's gonna say. Hello there, caller. You're live on the air. Can you unmute and tell us what you got? Wait, I don't know if you can even hear me in there. Wait, I see. Hello, caller. You are live on the air. Do you want to unmute and tell us what you got?
I'll go. Hello, I am a caller. Yes, I am. Hello, James. This is Renee from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, Renee from Portland, Oregon.
You know what I was thinking about? I know we're talking a lot about white supremacy and such, and Carhartts and Costco, but when I think about the United States of America,
mm-hmm.
and it isn't a state.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're touting that united we stand, divided we fall, where is DC in that? Where is that current?
That's a great question.
Direct current. So that was just something I kind of saw this weekend as things are so up and spinning around.
Hold that thought,
everybody. Okay.
Hold that thought, Renee from Portland. This is great. And honestly, I want to do a real quick audio test. And I need to know if you guys out there in La La Land even heard what that caller had to say. So yeah, let me know. Because I've got this new theory now that this is the way to do it, and I'm just waiting for a chat to come in. Getting a Frasier vibe. Okay, that's great.
Oh yeah,
I wonder if they mean Frasier as in you can hear the audio, or Frasier as in you cannot hear the audio. I'm more looking for like not really critique on like style, but more like critique on like did you hear the audio? Oh, thank you. Hey, Stellify's in the house. This is one of the guys that we spoke to. Maybe.
Oh, Stellify.
Yeah, and you can join us too. The link for that is on Patreon. So fantastic. I was afraid that Renee from Portland, you were not going to be heard. So thank you for that.
I wasn't really sure either, but I definitely had this loaded as a question I wanted to bring up to you and the general community, that we're all kind of looking out at what's going on in this particular United States, especially in regards to Turtle Island and what's going on, in the
Yeah.
southern parts of this tale of Oz.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, the question was, we have United States of America, we
Uh
have
huh.
a Pledge of Allegiance and such, but Washington D.C. is not a state. So where
Ah.
does that land in how culpable they are for what's going on, and how
Mm-hmm.
much they are part of the
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the swamp there? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't be regarded as a state due to its location.
That's right. So this is an important distinction. And first of all, the one regent that has control over all the other states due to the supremacy clause, which I think is a horrible clause that we have. But that's just me. I'm a white supremacist. I'm allowed to think things like that. And that this has been enacted in a long time. Having the ability to have a federal agency does require a non-state geography so that you can actually even exercise your power. And this is probably the first time where we've really seen this entire framework being used so strategically against us. I want to remind everybody that we've been hunting terrorists nonstop since World War, honestly, since the Civil War. But since World War II, I've thrown this out because I've done the math. Look at me doing math. At 1.7 years, every 1.7 years, we find a new terrorist, and we go hunt those people down, and we do things to them. And recently, what you see is that who the terrorist is now inside of our border. It is domestic terrorists now. And so you're seeing a combined effort of hunting away immigrants, which is, this is going to sound kind of twisted, but I think honestly, due to God's law, if we're going to hunt ourselves, we have to remove the innocent people. And I'd like for you guys to consider that ICE is like trying to remove the innocent people because we're about to cannibalize the shit out of ourselves. Because this is what a Nazi nation does. This is the first thing that Hitler did with the brown shirts. And I don't mean this to sound hyperbolic. I'm just telling you that this is what Trump has done. Is you find the most loyal and you start to chop away at their power base. And only once you've eliminated that, you're going to find your most powerful Lancelot, and you're going to accuse him of infidelity. You're going to say, "Dude, touch my wife," and then you're going to banish him. You're going to put him in the Tower of Banishment, and he's Steve Banish. He's going to be Steve Banished, and once he's out of the picture, you're going to have a much stronger hold over your kingdom. So think about DC as, if you're going to be able to do this, first of all, you need to have a safety zone that's your own, which is why DC has been turned into a militarized zone for a while now. This plan has been put in for a long time. But on the good side of this, Renee from Portland, on the good
Yeah.
side of this is that DC, there is a movement inside of there. The people inside of there are like, hey, this is kind of sucking. And they're like, we want to be a state now. And Puerto Rico, good old Rico, is like, I want to be a state too. And these two areas would be linchpins because of our electoral college system. We like to make elections look like they're divided right down the middle. And so you end up with a very powerful tiebreaker being inside Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico, too.
Mm,
So the whole thing is
yeah.
illegal, in my opinion, which is obviously worth so much more because I'm a white guy. Let's fucking face it. And in my opinion, this has been illegal since Lincoln. In my opinion, the very first time that you start to dissolve a union is when you jail 300 of its publishers and say, I don't want you printing stuff about me. You're fake news, says Lincoln. And Lincoln secures the rights for every state and places them in a binding militarized zone where there's no more habeas corpus. And he declares that everyone in that land believes and is loyal to a state, when most of the people that are in those areas didn't even know what a state was. That from their perspective, they were probably living in some sort of nation. I'm in the Cherokee, or I'm in the Chickasaw, or I'm in the Bicaboo, or the Seminole, or the Washoe. And all these different cultures, though, that was land. And it was a living, teeming land, because land itself was just a living, like consciousness. It was a living identity. You needed land to survive, meaning you needed culture. You needed civilization to be there. So this was not really a system of nationalistic borders. This was a system of tribal, local borders. The palisade is a word from Indian. It means let's put a bunch of trees in a circle and make ourselves feel better. So DC really is doing that same thing, but this happened because of the sort of the tentacles that were installed, and more importantly, desperately secured thanks to Lincoln. That it was Lincoln himself that made all this happen. But you can't call Lincoln a dictator, even though Lincoln does fit the role of dictator in every possible historical way. Abraham Lincoln is a dictator. He's a dictator, Tot.
He's got a really big statue, too.
He does.
Really
He's got
big
the biggest
statue.
one. He does.
Yeah.
And we cannot imagine him being dictator, which is why it's so possible that DC gets to behave kind of like it's behaving now with the roundups, with the pest control, basically, that we are enacting in our own land. So, yeah, it's messed up. It's more jungle than it is messed up, honestly. The jungle is intense. That's probably a better way to say it.
Mesopotamia.
There you go. That's right.
But but in regards to statues, I was reading late in August, someone had posted an article about an Albert Pike statue that was taken down in 2020 around the anger around racism or the Civil War or the Confederates. And that just made me look even closer into this human. And oh my gosh, I impressed. I am impressed with this man, and especially in regards to the Civil War. He ended up being he was like a brigade leader that collected 5 of the tribes, the ones we called civilized, including the Seminole and the Cherokee.
Yes.
And, was going, against the Union to, if we think about the Iroquois Confederacy and the Confederacy in which we now frame it today, we got a lot to remember.
Yeah, and unlearn. Right.
And unlearn, exactly. So I ended up being a big Albert Pike fan.
Oh, that's great. So I think Trump just put back up a statue of Albert Pike. I think might have been what's triggered the algorithm for a lot of people to be thinking about this. And what a polarizing archetype that is. On both sides, it's if you're unconscious, you may see it as this is a Civil War KKK dude, and then if you're red-pilled, you would see it as this is the dude that wants to imprison all of us because Alex Jones is somehow more valid, is like a form of like what's happening, and then you have an Illuminati research where you're like, holy shit, this dude knew how to like practice propaganda warfare, but also Freemasonry. And he's like this higher Uber consciousness that's alive in a world of vagrants, basically. And then you get to this Luciferian model where you start to realize, wow, this is a vital part of the garden. That inside the garden is this very important grasshopper, and this grasshopper comes and takes away certain things. It eats certain things, and it looks like a terrible thing, and we got to fucking fight the grasshoppers. But then also, if you can find this equilibrium, in other words, most of finding the equilibrium in nature is stopping the whole idea of this is wrong and this is broken, and it's instead of relaxing and kicking back and just noticing what are all these things. what is the overall result of all of these things running inside this terrarium? And I think Albert Pike fits really well in that.
Yeah, he was a commoner too. He wasn't some born into privilege guy. One of his quotes that as I was talking to Chad about this, because initially when I asked about him, it was very negative. He's racist and such.
Hmm.
And then I was like, hey, let's ask a couple more questions. And he was a 33-degree Mason. And like I said prior, he was working with the all the the native people of the South. And one of his quotes is masonry is a march and struggle towards the light.
Yeah.
Masonry is a march and struggle towards the light. And that just seems so applicable as we've gone through the corona,
Hmm.
as we're, entering this phase of really cracking open that veil.
Yeah. Mason, I always found it ironic that, especially during Blueprints of Mind Control, I always found it ironic that the Freemason was the one that was supposed to be the enemy. Because when you look back at what a Freemason, he was called free because he was so successful that he wasn't tied to a town. He wasn't forced into a sort of serfdom. A lot of us remember the term serf. A serf is a slave that's basically attached to soil. So when you would buy land, if it had serfs on it, you're basically kind of stuck with them. And you either consider them a wonderful part of the land or a nuisance. And in either way, you're going to be paying some money, whether it be to genocide them or to keep them relatively healthy and happy. So this Freemason was a special kind of human because they were not tied to a specific area. And their skills were considered so valuable that it gave them wealth wherever they went. They could demonstrate their skills, they could show their tools, they had a mastery of their craft. They would be the builders of not just churches, but of very special altars that you could go inside of that would alter you. Your psychology would, when you're out in the wild, surrounded by jungle, and you're in animism, if you're a Boy Scout or a Weebelo, or if you're just out backpacking, you get a little bit of this. You sort of start to go a little bit wild in a really fun way. You become a product of the environment. When the language stops, you slip into a coyote ugly kind of sort of personality where you really start to find yourself more. And if you were living in that 24/7, you would need some sort of altar that you could walk into and not do that. Like sort of practice being a person, practice being civilized. So the altar itself is the altar ring of who you are. The first altars were, holes in trees. And you're like, hey, Ashira, it's really good to see you. And Ashira's like, oh, it's great to see you. I'll forgive you all your sins. And you're like, no, Ashira, it's really good to see you. And she's just like, look, I'm here to forgive your sins. And he's like, no, Ashira, I really, really have some sins. And that all of these alter your personality. You change. This is probably built into what we sacrifice and how we do it. We alter ourselves. And now that we have a big enough psyche, we can sort of remember, we can sort of create a cellular memory or a bookmark of who we think we are. And then we can turn around and alter into other things and then alter back into this original, which is, this is primal magic. This is some of the best stuff in the world. Seeing the Freemason back then, I think was seeing a true magi. The ability, just like blacksmiths, believe it or not, blacksmiths were considered highly magical. They were venerated with special powers. You could maybe explain, dude, this is iron ore and it's like really dirty and mangled, but if you heat it up and then you heat it up and then you blow air into it and then you heat it up and then you blow air into it, then you keep cleaning it and refining it, this mangled ore becomes something a little bit harder, more shiny, more metallic, more heavy, more dense. And people are just like, what are you talking about? You're mixing dirt. It's so, You're scary. You're scary. So these two positions were consciously different human beings. They had their own names. They were called Smith and Mason. They were classes of plant life. They were certain kinds of humans wandering around. And in a way,
fraternizing, that's a word that comes to mind, to fraternize with, I find that, I like a lot of variety in my experience with the variety of human beings. I like to have a big range. So it's interesting that people would see that a much Malamu, like say in a Freemason that's come to build the cornerstone of your church, so respect them, but also fear them, for they bring a light that is unknown to them.
Yeah.
And if you reveal too much, then that could topple over their apricots.
Well, sure, because after a while, the Freemasons kept doing better and better, and they would own more land. And then all of a sudden now your weird-ass psychological pagan fetishes that you're practicing on the land are considered maybe not so cool. And your propensity to slip into cannibalism every time there's a drought and all of you gather in darkness and put potato sacks over your head, and you decide that you're going to hunt the one in your village that's the ugliest, and you choose them, and you choose them because they're the weakest. You choose them because it's the most appropriate, and you end that person's life, and then everyone feels better, and this is a blood libel. And if you're a Freemason, you are going to be probably fighting directly against blood libel. You may even have your own blood libel to fucking fight other blood libels. Like, this is like chalices all the way down. Because ultimately, something traumatic happened in the world. One trauma created the evilness of the world, and the other trauma created this sense of justice, of revenging the evil in the world. And that both these things happen from the same action. And these are power actions, and we would fear those who have power, which is why we insist that it's Freemasons that are living and controlling above us. Mm. It's definitely people that are more powerful, people that understand how simple politics is, how simple it is to manipulate the public.
Speaking of that, I looked up to see what was going on today, and it appears that our government has reopened.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Yeah. I used to get really excited about that because I was just like, man, it'd be cool if we could close the government. And then I remember once it happened, I was like really happy, and I was thinking everybody's going to have birthday cake and stuff, and people were like sad. People were like, oh shit, the government. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean, oh shit? Wait a minute. And then I was like realizing, wait a minute, everybody's sad about this. This is weird. I'm in the wrong place. I started wondering, I think I'm in the wrong place now. Yeah, noticing that ice can keep going during all that. Like, think about it. Planes can go down. If the government shuts down, air traffic controllers no longer get paid. But ice is fine. Ice is no issues there. There's more bonuses. Imagine telling an ice guy, hey man, we can't pay you, but the money's on the way. That's what we told air traffic controllers. This is Pepperidge Farm remembers, man. I remember when the government was very different than this. And maybe it was my sheepishness, but this is a very different place. I don't think it's open. I think that we're just sort of like, there's this other little entity, a tick, basically. It's called DC, and the tick is just, people are just like, let's send the tick money, and and the tick's like, why the fuck would I stop? Like, I closed down like James said, but these people, they can't deal with that. They don't want to pretend that it closes down. They want to send someone to, who are we going to send our tribute to, man? That's really what states are doing. They're like, hey, let's collect all the money from all the locals, and then let's give it to that tick over there. And then let's complain about the tick. Yeah, that'll show them. And then you just
It just keeps growing and
Yeah, it
growing.
just keeps growing because people are just like, yeah, we gotta send another tick to Washington, and that's gonna fix it. And then the ticks are just like, yeah, and then you hear what they say, and none of them are like, hey, why don't we just stop sending tick food? Why don't we just stop sending blood to the ticks? It's like, no blood to the ticks. Like that would be such an easy slogan. Like, why is that not a slogan? And people are just like, you can't do that, James. Ticks are a protected species in Washington,
They are
D.C.
part of Gaia.
There's
That
a
is
federal
nature.
mandate. You can't be doing that. It's a product of China. You can't be. Yeah, this is what we want. And I think that it's the same blood libel because we're like, if we just keep killing people, then everything that we've done in the past is okay, because clearly there's still terrorism. Because look at the terrorists, and I do think it's more positive that we're doing it ourselves. That I released a video this morning, and we are doing it to ourselves. We changed the weapon is now white nationalism, and it's inside of our own border. And I like this better. I think this wakes more people up. I'm glad that we're shooting inside the gates instead of outside the gates for a while. And we won't do it. We'll find someone else to shoot soon, because people won't be able to take it anymore. But I think that is blood libel too. There ultimately is blood libel because of everything that we do, and we don't hold each other responsible for it. We don't get to. Through our veterans, we don't get to say, "Hey, you killed someone." We're like, no, that didn't happen, dude. You're great, dude. What you did was necessary to the preservation of these ice dudes that are gonna fucking take your landscaper away. Hey, that dude that's doing your roof, he's a fucking terrorist. We gotta round him up. It's like, why are you rounding, dude? If he's a terrorist, why is he on someone's roof like with a nail gun and like shingles? Like seriously, what? Like shit, aren't we fucked? Like if terrorists are already on the roofs, putting roofs on our home, like we're. I'm just thinking maybe there's no such thing as terrorists. God, it's hard to be a white nationalist. It's hard because I gotta go back to my Bible and go, James, you cannot doubt the Holy Spirit of white terrorism. You cannot doubt terrorism, James. It has to be there. And you're like, you're right. I'm sorry, God, I doubted you.
Well, the piece you put out about that great piece I love with the animated guy, I just love that. And when you highlighted the Grim Beeper, the Benjamite sending out thousands, you said, of these what are they called again? I guess beepers. And you don't know, a kid could have picked that up. Anybody could have picked up one of those beepers.
Yeah.
The fact that it was just so violent.
Yeah, let's tell people.
Beeper, like it's so gross.
Yeah, hang on a second. Let's get.
Sorry.
Perfect. No. Don't be sorry. I'm just being. Yeah, let's tell people exactly what happened. So this is like from 2014 or something. Like it's not even news. It's just so ubiquitous. It just happens that people just kind of skip over it. And of course, there's a lot of things you just can't report on. But like thousands of beepers were sent and packaged and booby trapped with explosives inside and sent all over the world. Honestly, they were meant for Hezbollah, and those things went off in public. And it's one thing to stage a terrorist attack in public by utilizing technology that can explode. That's already just like, okay. But then it's another to create commemorative beepers for it. Donald Trump has one in the White House. Has a commemorative beeper given to him by Bibi Netanyahu as a gift.
What?
Yes, as a memento, as a gift. I couldn't put it in the video because it was too hard to show. All I have is a photograph. There's a photo. It's a gift, and there's a limited edition number of gold beepers, and there's the beeper would only go off If you use two hands, the beepers were designed to where one certain function required that you hold both hands on the beeper with your left hand and your right hand with your thumbs. And that this was the actual purposely used as the detonation sequence so that the beeper would be facing the person's face as they're looking down on it. And this is called Operation Grim Beeper. And it's a Mossad operation this isn't about they're denying it. No, they're celebrating it. They're proud of it. It's a NASCAR commemorative plate. Yes. Yes, it's a commemorative plate. And those people are there. And $9 trillion has been spent on terrorism. And most of it has gone to those guys. So yeah, it's now you have a creature that's trying to eat terrorism, but it can never eat Israel. And think about how much fun it would be if you were ICE and the president was like true to his word. If he truly was like, we're going to save the world from terrorists. What if Trump was to say, hey guys, as your president, look, I had to stage this whole, we're going to go after migrants. I had to stage this whole, we're going to go after Antifa, because it's the only way I could assemble all you guys. But now that I have you, we're going to fucking go after the Jews. Like, oh my God. He's like, let me explain to you what I mean. We are hunting Benjamites. Bling! And then he like pulls up this holographic map. And then all those generals are like, they're like rock hard. They're like, oh my God, what did you just say? It's like, yes. We have secured the plans to the Death Star. Bling! Then another holographic comes up and it shows you the Patriarch Cave, the ancient relics that are inside Israel, and it shows you that a militant, violent group called the Benjamites have taken captive over the original land of Christ, and that we have to go save that from the world itself. Bling! And just, oh my God. Or you would have the Charlie Kirkians. They would be enlisting as fast. Oh my God. They'd be just like, oh God, we're going to go to war. We're going to crusade against the Jews. This is amazing. The people that killed Christ. And then you'd have this like force that you wouldn't have to pay. People would be joining for free. They'd be having bake sales in their local community, and they'd be like, let's send the best and our brightest. Let's send little Billy so he can go over to Israel and find out what it's like to actually live in a crusade and get to see these people up close and get to try and kill them. And holy cow, this would be a war. This would be the most innocent lambs in the country, America, the ones that lose every war, would be put into the most hardcore, psychopathic, sociopathic, angry, militant, highly trained, highly violent force protecting a sacred rock that God himself cast his seed and gave his first son for. And this, man, this is a war that I'd be like, okay, let's watch this. Let's see what happens here. And we're not ready for that. It's not ready for that. You're going to blow the whole wrestling season. Can you smell what The Rock is cooking, ladies and gentlemen? Because The Rock cooks for thee. I cannot imagine how painful or awkward my edgelord sarcasm sounds today. If you're confused, it's okay. I really do want you to just find the absurdity of this thing. I'm beyond judgment, because I think judgment just makes us sit down longer. Judgment just makes us go, oh, well, let's just accept it for the peculiarity of it all. Instead of really digging in and going, holy wow, this is us now. This is us. Hey, we got a caller. Renee from Portland is okay. You got yeah. Let's see what our caller has to say. Let's see. We're gonna let in the.
Do we have a caller? Yeah, let whoever's in.
Oh,
yeah,
I need to. Oh, I know. I need to make you a host there. That's what's going on. Hello,
Oh, I
caller.
haven't been co-hosted yet. There we go. Oh, I see who's in the room. Hi, Brad. You're muted. You're muted now. Now you're
Hey,
unmuted. There you
hey
go.
guys. Yeah, sorry about that.
Hi.
Oh, it's crazy out there, isn't it?
All right.
LDVO. Sure is, Brad. Can you hear him, James?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, great.
Oh, is my volume okay?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
sounds good, Brad.
Okay, good.
Go ahead. What do you got to say?
Hey, just the nature of everything going on in the on the playground. I just agree with what you're saying. I was a little bit lagged, so I'm not sure if I'm right up to date. But just the absurdity. Was you're talking about the absurdity? I found so much more peace with the situation when starting to look at it through that lens of just enjoying this absurdity of the show and not getting angry about it. But because that's just it. It's like you're not going to ever change anything on the grand scale, right? So how many calories you lose complaining about it or letting it stress you out, that's really just a personal choice. And as we've been saying, I think for a long time now, the more calories we save, the more energy we actually have to invest in what I consider the quantum field, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that since most of this is a hallucination, right, and most of our imagination, the more calories we have, the more we're in our own imagination, the more I think the more powerful I would say our imagination is. Would you agree?
The more effective you could be. I think the
Right.
more
Yeah, that's
effective is what you're looking for. Yeah, the more momentum you have stored in your own toroidal field. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you carry yourself around with. And if you're draining calories because you're caught up in this drama over here, and there's nothing wrong with that. But but it's also when you kind of pull back, like, I got to get back in my own lane here because I want to be effective as I pollinate, and just for my own self health. It's so important to keep yourself and your body as your temple. I mean, you only got one, right? I say I got one horse. We're all born with a horse, and you're wearing it right now, or whatever animal you want to be. But you only get one, so you see where you leak, as you've brought up. I think that's a really good term. Unnecessarily leaking, and until you realize you don't have to leak there anymore, you've accumulated that experience, and then you keep going, because this is a long road, a long rollout. So effectiveness, yeah, I think that's where we're looking at it.
And it's holding that amidst the chaos, right? If you can maintain your calm, you have more options. But just again, like, you have more calories. More is available to you in the moment, and you tend not to get swept up in the tide of the crowd, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's a skill to develop, sure.
I'm having trouble getting a good audio read from you, Brad. Sorry. I think it could be because both of you are talking at the same time. So if we could just have like one caller in here, I think it'll be a better connection.
Okay, I'll just raise when I have something else.
Well, I would say let's not be in the room, because it's going to port my audio to you, and it's going to slow it down, because it degraded a lot when both you guys were talking back and forth. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, we can go back in the waiting room if you need to. But Brad, you do have a legitimate question, and that question is, honestly, I forgot the question because it already got answered for you. But I don't know if it's safe to look at what's happening in the world as necessarily even fake or not real or intangible. I think it comes down to what is actionable for you to do to change it. And when you start to look at what is actionable, and even what is worthy of being changed, that's when your worldview, I think, can start to adapt. Sort of like if you've inherited, let's say you get a new home, and you've inherited sort of a garden. And the backyard has a certain amount of this and that and whatnot, and certain things are naturally growing and other things aren't. And in your mind, if you've been reading magazines like a Zionist, if you've been planning for years, living in this fantasy, this hypothetical of a garden, then you're going to be disappointed unless you have a lot of money. And if you have a lot of money, you can now turn the backyard into the predefined vision that you had over what the garden looks like. And this is mind control. This idea that you've been pre-primed into a Zion is a promised land. That's what Zion means. You've been taught this is what you're going to get. The modern man now is mad, I think, honestly, because he's being haunted by the illusions of a prior decade that was also haunted by those same illusions, and that we're simply being haunted by the original illusions of a 1950s fertility cult, which said everyone's going to get a house and everywhere you work is going to want you to stay. They're going to promise you a pension. And if you do this for X number of years, you're going to get a check guaranteed for life, and that the money that you get for the rest of your life, there's no such thing as inflation. It'll always be worth the same. And that none of those things have ever, not once, ever been true. And when we look around society and we're like, who's doing well? I don't think we understand how horrible they're doing inside. That most of the Joneses are living in hyper debt. Most of the Joneses are fronting themselves to make you think they're doing better. And that those Joneses had kids. And those kids did the same. And those kids had kids. And they did the same. And we've been doing that for 1,000 years. We've been fronting on a front of a front of a front. And what happens in the white sun is you see through all of it. And it's easy to become disenchanted because you are so convinced that the world is broken that you forget that it's just always been this way. It makes you feel better to insist it wasn't. You gain more victimhood insisting it was always this way, but now it's not, and it was removed right before I got here. This is what Zion is. Zion is the promise that something's been taken from you. And if you assemble underneath this logo, we will fucking go get it. And so you will hunt down the smallest among you that's different. You would start with that. You can't take down a big target, so you have to look, what among us is the smallest percent? And you look and you find, well, look at these transsexual, fuck, look at that. Oh my God, those guys are weird. I know, look how weird they are. Oh, this is great. There's not a lot of them. No, there's not. There's not a lot. And as long as you find that percentage, whether it be black guys, whether it be immigrants, whether it be trans people, whether it be anything really, Mormons, Quakers, Amish, you start to cannibalize yourself. This is what it looks like. And we're not the only people that cannibalize ourselves. And when you start to look at that, you check the world out and you realize if you try and just say something really simple, people just aren't going to get it. And then you start to notice, well, it's not because I don't explain things. It's because they don't want to get it. And then you start to look at what people want to get. And then you start to just show how all this information is directly contradictory to what it is that they want, but they don't care because they just want that. I think this is where it puts you. You come to an honesty about what the world really is, and it's never something that's going to be rationally approached or fixed. You can't tell the truth in this. You can, but you're wasting space. I mean, do it for yourself. You have to do it for yourself. That's probably a better way. It has to be a self-sufficiency, and that's not changing the world. That's exercising what you think would be amazing. And that's a good thing. You're showcasing a way of life, and that's a form of pollination, and it's very nihilistic. If you're a utilitarian, you believe that the solution is what works the most. And if you're a primalist, like an objectarian, a platonic realm of perfection exists, then whether or not you did something would be meaningless. It would be that you held this ideal. So you get to decide what what your world is made of. Is it hypothetical? Is it a hypothetical ideal? What is right is a hypothetical ideal? Or is what is right, what can you actionably do to move something closer into a shape that resembles what you're after? In my mind, I just told you the difference between a nihilist and an artist. A nihilist wants to see how he can prove something is broken. And this is a critic. A critic needs art so he can tell you how much it sucks. And an artist is never the finished product. The artist isn't even there. When the art's done, the artist is gone because the art's arting. It's an artist. So when they see something, they're not there to finish something. They're not looking to have something complete so they can say this is the world or this is the truth. They're there and they're like, I have 6 minutes. What can I do with my hands to shape this thing? And they do it more for fun. They do it more because why would you not? Why would you not play with this? Those are two very different kinds of beings, critic and artist. And I'm not here to advocate one or the other. I think we should believe in the illusion of the reality we see. And I also think you should be honest about the materials that we have to paint around us. Tucker Carlson doesn't believe that Dick Cheney's a war criminal. And Tucker Carlson's going to come out and tell you that probably that we need to look at 9/11 because I think someone in our government did it. and he's going to tell you that while he's telling you Dick Cheney's not a war criminal. And some guy named Milo who diddles kids going to be the Republican ideal for family. Someone like Candace Owens is going to be the new Alex Jones. Someone like Megyn Kelly is going to be the new Oprah Winfrey. And we're watching those seats change real time because when you look at the conglomerate of people out there, they need Oprah Winfrey. They need Jerry Springer. This is what they need. And it used to be bitter. It used to be bitter, and I used to have this brilliant sort of, it was back when I believed in the deep state, because the deep state means, oh fuck, this is great. I can just, we can just find this one little part, and we'll go crusade the fuck out of that little part. We're gonna find those terrorists inside the deep state, and when we do, government will be clean again, and we can go back to 1950s, and there's gonna be Tupperware, and all kinds of cool stuff. You look at what's happening now, and the word isn't burn. I want it to light. I learned this watching a KKK documentary thing where they're like, "Hey man, don't say we're burning across. We're lighting across." And I want this. I don't want the world to burn. I want it to light. It's the same thing. Like it really is the same thing. But I want to celebrate how important it is that all of us sit in a field and just watch this thing burn. Like I just think that'd be sweet as fuck. When we're worried about all the people, when we're worried about all these things, I don't know if I'm always honest, and I don't actually tell people how I really feel. But that's how I really feel. We got a caller on the line. Could be the same person. Not sure. Who's that?
Yes, it's Brad from Atlanta still.
Hello, Brad from Atlanta. Thank you for calling.
I like the difference between burning it and lighting it that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Is the reverence there, it seems there is. Burning it down is the anger of wanting to see it destroyed, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Whereas lighting it is more veneration and honoring, and of course, I think more of an understanding of how the destruction creation cycle works in the first place.
Yeah.
And that to me, it's also reflected in the difference between, like you're talking about, the artist and the critic, and just the mindset that each brings to the table. That would relate in a similar way, just the reverence for the life, like the artist playing with the life they have, whereas a critic is just always looking for what's wrong with the life they have.
Yeah. Yeah, and you need both. The artist isn't going to want to even perform without it, and it's going to, until the artist is fully realized. I think the artist can make it on their own. That, like, you would create for your own benefit, but I think that honestly, without witness, I don't know if the flower is going to be challenged as much. Especially by the superficiality, the feedback that you get.
I definitely agree. I think the feedback does. It influences the. It's fuel for the artist, I would say, right? You know what I'm saying? The feedback.
Yeah. It's we like to pretend that we can do it without it, and the good artists do. I do think that's important. Most of the people that we consider genius were hated and obscure and ignored in their life. And so it there's a filtering process. And it tends to be that the water that's filtered through that mechanism of just absolute abandonment is crucial to the flavor. I mean, it sucks. It sucks, but it does seem to work. It does seem to make some really good whiskey. If you put it in that barrel and just forget about it until it's meaningless, let it die in the face of how meaningless it's going to be for the next 26 years, and let that do something to your psyche, because it'll turn you, it'll dissolve you, it'll rectify you. It'll turn you into the bitterest bitter, and then at the essence of that bitter, through the calcification of that bitterness, there will be this new sweetness that will be born, and that sweetness will survive because it'll have to, and ultimately that's what comes out. And this is the pearl in the clam. This is the aging of the barrel. So ultimately, this is all positive. The critic is just as important. The cane is just as important as the able, for sure. Thank you for your call, Brad. We have someone in the waiting room. No idea who this is going to be. This could be dangerous. There's no video, but I'm gonna get ready and see what happens here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Okay, let's see what happens. All right, new caller, you're in now. You want to unmute and tell us what you got to say.
Birdie Lovevorn is the name. Hi, Birdie. Go right ahead.
I hope I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you sound great. Hi.
Oh, cool. All right, I'm on an iPad. Long time listener, first time caller. I'm really glad you put this platform together to have people call in.
No, good.
I wanted to touch on one of the things, and you do make my mind kind of larger with some of your talks. I don't always agree with you, but for the most part, we're really on a good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big student of Rudolf Steiner.
Yeah.
The Ahrimanic impulse is what I am always so hyper focused on. Do you, I don't even really know. I mean, I didn't even think I'd get through, but this Ahrimanic impulse and this Luciferic being that Rudolf Steiner always addresses, the Luciferic being, neither one of these are bad.
Mm-hmm.
For so many years of our existence, we've been taught that Lucifer was bad and Ahriman was bad. But I was just reading a lecture on Steiner, and without these, we would have never become an individual.
Mm-hmm.
We would have never developed personalities and imaginations. And I think once I started really fully understanding what Steiner had written 100 years ago, I was free. It's like everything started to pop open in my brain.
Mm.
because as you see, you're talking of the destruction, and it is very bleak out there. Yes, it is. But you kind of just like observe it. You don't even get emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
And that's true freedom. And I'm seeing more and more of us having these epiphanies. And I just wanted to really say thanks for kind of like planting the seed 10 years ago. When I watched you when you were putting up campfires and, you were trying to get us all to come.
Oh, yeah. 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 That was about 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in a hermitage, so there was no way, but I was with you in spirit.
Right on. Well, you're still here. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yes.
I get compared to Steiner a lot, and I consider it a huge compliment. I don't know if we fully align on everything, but I think that if I was alive in his time or was in his company, it would have made a lot of sense to see things exactly as he does too. I do think that there's a different sort of connection now to reality, and because of that, it would be quite natural that certain things that used to be terrifying would be more revelatory now. This is the idea that an angel is terrifying to behold, yet this is maybe considered the symbol closest to God itself. So we're now looking at the idea of beholding God as being something that is terrorful. So terrorism is a practice, a training that we endure so that we can learn to see God.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is exactly that lesson. The Lucifer's teacher, the satanic verse is here to terrify you into learning to see things more deeply. So it's the ripping of a muscle. The eye is a wound. If you think about what an eye is, it's a wound. You're bleeding into the world, and the bleeding is exposing you to all of the toxins, however you want to see the terrain outside of you. All the things that you see are able to leak inside of you through this wound of your eye.
Yeah.
And the longer that this wound is open, just like any muscle, just like any form of tissue inside of your body, the tearing open of that tissue causes inflammation and healing and growth, and that these things create new spaces that were not there before. So the eye is a forever open muscle that's being torn every moment by all the things that we see and endure. And the more we practice to see things that are more terrifying, the more we are equipped to behold God itself.
Yeah, there's truth to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start calling in more, but I just wanted to thank you.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Birdie.
Thanks for calling in, Birdie. That was great.
Yeah,
and if anybody has any questions in chat, you can type them in and I can ask James. That's another route. But so great to have you on, Birdie.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Great stuff. Great stuff, guys. The Steiner stuff I think is well worth looking into. It's an excellent framework. And I also want you to remember that none of the Luciferian things that we discussed, none of the Freemason things that I discussed, none of the any kind of esoteric knowledge is going to be esoteric. So esoteric means rare. And a lot of lower sort of beings, people that are occupying a lower level where they're looking at the world in a more white belt kind of way, see rare as that which is hoarded by rich people. So Andrew Tate is an example of this. He will, when he's showing you his wealth, he's showing you how he has something that everyone else wants. And he's very clear about that. So he says, this Rolex is da-da-da-da-da-da. He's saying, this is a Rolex that 60,000 people wanted really bad, but I got it. And they really wanted it bad, but I got it and it was cost $50,000. So technically this watch is worth 50,000 times 60,000 people that wanted it. Like in his mind, truth is pure raw witness, pure raw charisma or malamu over jealousy, over envy itself. This is a real kind of emerald, isn't it? It's kind of a green emerald. This is why money is green. The envy is the currency, isn't it? And we have a pretend finite monetary system which creates envy because it has a limitation. And as long as there's a limitation, then anyone that has it has this emerald in their pocket, this glowing emerald. And it causes everyone else's eyes to change and to look green because they are looking at that emerald that they wish they had. You could call this a psychic form of attack and slavery. You could. You could also call this a psychic form of magic and upliftment. That you're looking at a collective colony that has decided, let's throw all of our self-worth, since we do not have enough self-worth to be a Freemason, what if all of us threw our 30% self-worths, we threw all of our spare change of self-worth into a collective pot, and then we distribute that pot based on how charismatic we think this person is. And I just told you what an economy is. I literally, this is all an economy is. I know you might think economy is about products and services, and that's not an economy. That's just simple survival trading. I'm talking about an economy. An economy has brand names. An economy has marketing. An economy has this science that's built up because the self-worth of the envy ruby, of the envy emerald, the emerald V, the envy emerald. All right, we'll just tag that. But that emerald is energy is distributed, but at least some of us now have self-worth. And we'll prop up that self-worth by saying they have the nicest house, or they have the corner lot, or they have the best parking space, or they drive the best car, or whatever else it is that we decide. So we're practicing self-worth. You could say we're practicing slavery and enslavement, but we're also practicing self-worth. Each of us are living in the gutter because we kind of like it here. James, stop saying that. We do. We like it here enough to where we can now complain about it. And this is bravo. This is why you're a critic. This is why a critic's important. A critic's job is to say we're living in the gutter. An artist's job is to say the gutter is beautiful. The gutter is beautiful. I love being in a gutter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? So we use our critic and we use our artist to ask ourselves, do we deserve more? Do we deserve less? And you have a two-party system that's there to help you. It's there to tell you that. This is an important thing. We have a new caller on the line. What you got, caller?
That's true. It is an important thing. Hey, I have a question from the chat from Roscoe Pico Train 40,
oh my gosh.
42. Wasn't Rudolf Steiner's interpretation of Christianity heavily influenced by his use of psychedelics?
Probably so. I'm not an expert enough to tell you here's exactly how that is, but I think that psychedelics are a broad enough topic to where I want you to consider that any NDE, any near-death experience, is a psychedelic. And in that way, Jesus was absolutely influenced. Christianity was absolutely born out of near-death experience. Absolutely. There's also something really powerful about abstinence. And this is kind of opposite of psychedelics. And I don't know if this is as popular of an idea, so I don't think that people in modern culture are really ready to understand how profound abstinence was at that time. But I think abstinence is probably more of a psychic home run back then than doing drugs. There's a Egyptian lotus. Everything that we call the Egyptian lotus is actually not a lotus, but it's okay. We've been able to figure out what was the lotus. What was this thing that a bunch of Egyptians were doing? What is all this scripture about this lotus? And when you drink this tea, everything looks beautiful and everything becomes more dilated. And when you look at the science of that lotus, you see that it has a psychedelic signature that if you took like a giant whiskey barrel full of lotus water and you freebase that, if you diluted all that down and you could somehow dose on that giant barrel of lotus water, that you really would not have a huge psychedelic experience from it. You would experience the same effects as an antioxidant tea. It's like a really good, high quality, potent herbal tea. And that you would find that you would have some cellular dilation. And that you and I today, we would not feel that and call that a drug or a psychedelic experience. But back then, they did. Back then, they did. And this is where I'll stop the train right here. Because I know a lot of you will want to get off because you really want a history that has more psychedelics in it. That there's more cavemen doing psychedelics, and Jesus was doing psychedelics, and Mary was this whole other thing, and there's this purple dye that if you shoved it in your eye, you'd see better, and all these were psychedelics. And I say, man, you guys are going to have a great time playing. I wish I could play there. The problem is that when I look at the signatures of this lotus, when I look at what was happening in Rome, I think a bigger flex is to go dry, to actually go absence. That back then, when you were drinking Bacchus all the time, or you were sexing all the time, or you were gorging all the time, that be pretty freaking lit if you could be a dude that's like, just say no. And throughout history, this abstinence cult is a very powerful thing that you could argue hit with Jesus, hit with the Essenes, went underground. And that even the Freemasons practice this some. That there's always been a cult of Jesus that's always been like really fucking righteous. And they've always been made fun of for being the sissies, for being woman-like, for being less animalistic, less intense. The donkey children. And we crucify them because they were the weakest, honestly. We crucify them because they were the weakest. So I think that if someone was to do the same amount of cannabis now as you and I might do back then, I think that they'd be having a bad trip. I don't think it'd be a trip where you'd be like seeing God. I think that there's definitely ways to do that. And I'll tell you about the Mashiach soaking here in a sec. But I know what happens to the psyche there. When I worked in that wilderness camp, one of the kids that came in had his hair dipped in liquid LSD, and it destroyed him psychically. He was a vegetable. He was a walking cabbage. He would agree with anything. He was so malleable. He lost all sense of long-term memory. He was just sort of a walking vegetable. He wasn't saying anything profound. He didn't really talk. His language center wasn't really active. When he came out of that, he never really came out of that. He just simply was sort of less lost. There's a ritual in Egypt where a young boy is wrapped in loincloth, and the loincloth is soaked with heavy concentrations of THC oil, of cannabis oil, and that your pores would soak this in, and you would be really high, like really high. But I don't just mean like, oh, dude, Cheech and Chong high. I mean like catatonic, nothing else is happening to you high. And when you're in that kind of state, I don't think that you're having a psychic breakthrough. I think that people are cannibalizing you. I think people are torturing you. I think they're ripping off parts of your skin. I think they're crucifying you. I think they're hanging you to trees. And that was a ritual in Rome that was practiced because there's a blood libel. There's literally occults in Rome that were like, hey, we feel bad. We need to find the sissiest among us, and we need to go torture him for a while. This is a Native American ceremony. The Apache do the same thing. Lots of Native American tribes do this same thing. So do we, so do the Aztec, so the Mexican, so do the great horned serpent walkers. This is, the Vikings do this. The Gauls do this. This is, if you want to feel better, you're going to find the weakest among you. You're going to call them a witch, and you're going to do shit to them. And when you look at these altars, I think you're looking at sacrificial altars. And I think these people are willing to do it because they're so high that they say yes. So, and it's a bummer that I feel this way. I wish I could tell you that it was a monkey that ate psilocybin, and the psilocybin caused him to see more. I think probably what happened is that when a monkey ate psilocybin, the psilocybin caused him to see less, and that caused a lot of fear and strife, and he just probably stopped eating mushrooms after that. I think that when you start to look at evolution, not once does Darwin say this is a creation story, not once. And when you're looking for a story that has psilocybin as the thing that brought us out of the water, I think you're maybe thinking that creationism and evolution are the same. And this is an assumption that people have made, which I'm happy because I think we should all make assumptions. I've made assumptions about the world. But I just want to point out that if you actually read Darwin's book, he doesn't actually say, here's how I think we got here. He never touches that. What he says instead is that within these different harmonics that we're going to call species, these harmonics have the ability to pleomorph, to change, and that they can adapt to their environment, and it seems to be caused by this. And then he has a theory of natural selection. None of those are this is how we got here. None of those are this is what created life. It's more like this is what shapes and prunes life as it is. If you look truly at the origin of what would be required for life, this is an assumption, but I'm telling you, if you truly look at what would be required for life to exist, you would need a chicken and an egg at the same time. You would need to imagine that time itself is inside of a sonoluminescent singularity, a single point, and that you're able to change the phase of that singularity and broadcast time into a larger space. And because it's a larger space, there's like a scan line, and that scan line has to come back and update time, sort of like a record player. And so the larger the space is, the longer it takes for the record player to wind time, which means the space between each second slowly grows, slowly over time, because we're being spun like a crystal. This is how time makes crystals. It winds itself around its outside, and the perimeter itself becomes a matrix of being. So chicken and egg is part of this being. Space and time would have to have matter because space, time, and matter are just spin, and all those spins would be relativistic to where they are on this outer disk. So probably what came into being is our cellular hallucination of this greater spin. And I think psychedelics are an NDE, something that when you eat, you almost die. And every time that you can find something that makes you almost die, you have the potential for something really good to happen. It's a potential, but you can't have a bad trip. You can't have it where you feel that you were victimized. You can't have a trip where you feel that someone roofied you or someone spiked your drink. You have to do it willingly. And this is why mushrooms is such an important ritual, because you willingly place them between the peanut butter and the jelly. You willingly choose to, I'm going down this hole. And I don't you think that the old world especially had just near-death experiences like all the time? Like you couldn't even wander through Rome. If you weren't a citizen, you basically were like free meat. People could just use you for meat. You were inclined to become a citizen because you knew the moment you at least had some kind of revenge cult, that if you harm one who's from the house of Usher, that some dude named Usher is going to come out and kick the shit out of you. And so you don't care. You don't care about anything else except for, can I get the Ushers to like me? And until you do, you're having a near-death psychedelic experience every day. I would argue that before the psyche came, everything was a psychedelic experience. Every single encounter that you had was just a giant fucking ball trip of just, what the hell's going on? What is in this world? What is happening? That's seems to be more likely what was happening. And when you're looking at these psychedelic rituals, the boy was stripped of his clothes. He was cleaned and washed in the finest waters. He was blessed by priests for days. And then he was soaked in the jelly. This jelly, it had frankincense in it too. It was a powerful ointment, but one of the main ingredients was cannabis oil. How do we know this? Because they found the cannabis oil into the altar where this boy is laid, where his body is laid. And the swaddling clothes, the being wrapped in that gauze, when Jesus comes out of the so in Laszlo's story and in the resurrection, both times, Jesus emerges. There's a boy in swaddling cloth. This happens, at the garden too. And at that garden, there's a ritual where that's a sex house. The olive grove is a sex house. And the rooster crowing 3 times, guys, this is Priapus. This is the rising of the cock 3 times. This is, can't you understand how much more impressive it is back then that you would be abstinent than you would eat mushrooms? Can anyone see that? Am I the only one? Because I get that that's boring. I do get that that's boring. I wish that I was less boring, But if you do that, I think you start to see what a high priest really was back then. See, right now, a high shaman is the dude that does mushrooms. And I'm all for that because we're fucking living in crazy world. We need to get back to animism. So if you're going to go on an ayahuasca trip, yeah, you're going to seek a spiritual new paradigm. So you're going to freaking want to go back into animism. But if you're living in animism, I don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal to go like, hey, let's go eat a wild fucking root. Like, you're eating devil's root all the time. You're eating datura all the time. Most of the stuff, guys, nightshade was a psychedelic. Nightshade would cause like total, oh my God, what's happening to your brain? Those are tomatoes. Those are tomatoes. It's like, dude, you want to go trip on some tomatoes? Oh my God, I love those things. Oh God, this is so good. These tomatoes are really cherry, man. They're the bomb. They're the bomb. So yeah, I think that the cannabis cream, especially because it was cream, I think it was purely a somatic thing. It was and you're going to, whatever you want to do to me. It's like that.
Well, if you think about extracting the essence of a flower, and the cannabis bud is a flower, right? And we extract the scent out of roses and other
Mm-hmm.
flowers too. You go up to a flower and you're transported if it smells. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm completely
Yeah,
altered,
especially
right? By the
then.
smell.
Especially
Oh, for
then.
sure.
Especially back then. I'm so glad you say that because just a little bit of Bacchus and you're a different person. It's the no different than when you're in college and you're like, hey, what happens when Becky from this sorority gets drunk? And you're like, oh my God, this is a whole new Becky. So we already see that. Imagine that times 20, right? Like imagine that times 20. And now you get the whole sorority house. Like you even can see that because you're looking for an excuse to either be more civilized or to become uncivilized, but in a more culturally appropriate way. Right? So a
Yeah.
sorority and a fraternity does both these things. And that's why most of fraternity is, look, you need to do some kind of like sex act because we need some goods on you. We need to have some sort of like embarrassment cult built into this so that we can punish you if you are not loyal to us any longer.
Need some dirt. Yeah, some dirt.
That dirt is a leash. That dirt is, hey, can you guys help me behave in public? Well, yeah, but you're going to have to get in this coffin and masturbate. What? Yeah. If you do that, James, you're going to join the secret society and you're going to be more put together than anyone else because you're going to humiliate yourself in this box and we're all going to witness it. And you're not going to want to humiliate yourself anymore because we're holding the keys to you. This is no different than saying, hey, I was drunk a few weeks ago in a bar in England and I got hit on the head. I woke up on a boat and now 3 weeks later I landed here. What did we call this place? Boston. Yes, Boston. And I don't have shoes. What the fuck do I do? And a dude's like, well, I guess you're just going to lose your toes. And he's like, but I don't want to lose my toes. And he's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. He's like, what if I came and did things for you? What? Can you give me shoes? Can you give me shoes, please? Your psyche is here. This is where you are. You're not at, I have principles, or there's a minimum wage, or, well, in college I studied divinity studies, and I'm really looking to get into environmental law. It's like, no, you just woke up on a boat because you got drunk, and now you're in this whole foreign you don't even have a name. You need to come up with a name. You need to come up with the opposite of a psychedelic experience. You need to create a sanity experience. You need to be tripping sanity, and you need to find a way to trip it more. Because if you can trip sanity around these people, if you can wear a collared shirt, it's so weird. But if you could wear if you were to land, if you went through a Terminator time warp and you don't have clothes, because apparently that's a rule. They've managed time travel, but they can't send clothes back. But you go through a time warp and you wake up here. The only thing that you'd really need to survive is a tailored shirt. Pants. You're going to probably want to wear pants. Tailored shirt, tailored pants, and a bag of nails. If you walk into a village in colonial America and you have those things, you are the richest man in that place. You own that whole place. It is a different kind of psychedelic experience there. You are holding fast to this, I'm a unicorn, except for you're not. You're a dude named Thomas who thinks you're maybe from Ireland, but you're not sure. You honestly can't remember. In fact, when you were there, people were fucking with you and they told you it was Ireland, and like 7 years later you figured out, no, I'm actually in Wales or something. That's how unidentified we were. And when you're unidentified as that, you're going to slip into chickabee. You're going to slip into that Nell psychology where you become a chickabee and you're just living in a weird world where it doesn't matter. And I honestly, this is why we do psychedelics now. We do psychedelics now to get back to that place. So back then when we didn't have it, we'd probably be doing something else to get away from that place. This is my opinion. There are many like it, but only one has me. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, it's been a day. Get back to regular shows here. I've been putting out some videos and things like that, and so I've been kind of busy. But yeah, let me know what you think. I don't think we had any more calls, but it's been a really good, healthy experiment. So
Yeah, it was so fun. The chat was a blast. We have some people wanting to start a Tupperware party. I thought that was pretty good.
yeah, good
So
luck.
yeah, everybody, thanks for being here. This has
Good
been great,
luck.
James.
Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate the sidecar in there. Always a pleasure. So
All right, got
all right,
it.
We'll see
Let's
you next
drive.
time, everyone.